Well. Hello, and welcome to the Dear Attorney Lenore Show. This is the opportunity for you to ask your questions live of Attorney Lenore. Today's topic is a very interesting one. It's how to divorce a narcissistic husband without the fear of losing everything. Now, just in case the husbands are a little bit worried, don't worry, because next show we're going to talk about how to divorce a narcissistic wife without the fear of losing everything, because we know narcissism is no respecter of persons. You can be a male or a female and have these tendencies. I was talking to a friend today and they said, isn't everybody some version of a narcissist? And I said, you might have a point. But before we go on, we want to just let everyone, and I introduce, of course, our wonderful guests, are really the host of the show. We want to let everyone know that we are recording and we are live streaming. You are welcome to remain off camera. If you have a question for Dear Attorney Lenore, all you have to do is put it in the chat and I will read that question without naming you, of course. So be sure to start your question with Dear Attorney Lenore, and then follow it up with whatever you want to ask her, and I'll read it live here on the show, and Attorney Lenore will answer them. So, hello, Attorney Lenore. How you doing?
I'm good, Pam. How are you?
I am delighted to participate with you in this great show, and we're going to get right into it. There's some people who ask questions in advance. We'll answer those and we'll mix them in with those who are with us live and the questions that they want to ask. So, Attorney Lenore, today's show is how to divorce a narcissistic husband without the fear of losing everything. I was wondering if you could kick off the show by talking a little bit about not only a narcissist, but how that actually fits with a great story that we all love called The Wizard of Oz.
I love The Wizard of Oz because it's such an allegory, and it definitely is about a narcissist. A narcissist is all smoke and mirrors, because basically a narcissist, and I'm talking about a narcissistic personality disorder. We all have a little bit of narcissism in us, but a narcissistic personality disorder is a pathological psychological disorder. And when I say that they're like the Wizard of Oz, they actually have very low self-esteem. And so they hide behind quite a bit of bravado to mask their vulnerability. And they wreak havoc, much like in The Wizard of Oz, the tornado comes. And that's pretty much what a narcissist does. They just wreak havoc. And because then you're off balance and you really cannot can't respond. And it feels like living in Oz a little bit because they gaslight you all the time. Everything you think is true, they make you question. And it takes a lot to get through that. And they're very insidious. They come off so charming and so appealing and so accommodating until you really get to live with them. And then the vine starts to grow around your feet and starts to take a chokehold. And so because it happens so slowly, you really don't realize it till it happens. And it's not till you start waking up that you realize that this was all an illusion and all a dream. But that's why I say it is kind of like going down the yellow brick road. If you start to unravel all the myths and start finding yourself again, and start seeing that narcissist for who he is, simply the man behind the curtain, you will be able to get yourself free.
So there is hope. Okay, this is great. So if you're just joining us online as well as here live with us, you've joined the Dear Attorney Lenore show. And today we're tackling the question, how to divorce a narcissist, or the topic, how to divorce a narcissist without the fear of losing everything. And I really loved how you kicked this off, Lenore, because you did leave us with a bit of hope. Now we're going to get to some questions, both those that were asked before the show and those that will be asked here. And those who are here, you can start your question with Dear Attorney Lenore, because that's the name of the show. And then I'll read those questions and have Attorney Lenore answer them. So before we get to the questions, Attorney Lenore, can you just tell us a little bit about your experience handling the divorce of a couple, one of which, let's take the husband, because that's what we're talking about today. The husband was a narcissist. How in the world did you mediate that kind of relationship, and how did it turn out?
I have to say that most of the cases that I dealt with narcissists were litigated divorces. It's not to say that you can't mediate with a narcissistic partner. It's possible. I grew up with a narcissist, so I know a lot about them.
Wow.
And so with my clients that I was representing, who were not the narcissist, their spouse was, I would tell them what they were going to do. And I would say, no, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how they're going to respond. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and this will how they're going to respond. And it's understand, and by understanding how the narcissist will respond, I was able to strategically help, not necessarily settle the case, but set up the case so that we got what we wanted. And I think with those same skills, with certain people with a narcissistic personality disorder, you could also mediate with them. You could.
And that would require them to be extremely cooperative, the narcissist, that is, in some way, in order for mediation to work.
Right. And basically with a narcissist, they want to know that they're going to come out on top.
Okay.
So if it benefits them, if they believe it benefits them, and it makes, in some way, monetarily, makes them look good, it's part of what they wanted anyway, mm-hmm. You can maneuver the situation to end up where you want to be.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we have a question, a live question here. I'm going to ask it, and then we'll go to some questions that were asked earlier. And of course, those of you who are watching, feel free to ask your question as we go along. So this person says, Dear Attorney Lenore, how do you approach negotiating with a narcissist? And I'm wondering if they should have put negotiating in air quotes or in quotes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
because
thinking.
Is it negotiating? Or anyway, you're the attorney. How would you answer this question?
Well, I think the thing is, you have to figure out what they want, and you have to figure out what you want. And then you have to figure out how to get them to think that what they're going to be giving you is not really what you want.
Oh, wait, say that again.
So you have to figure out what they want.
Yes, got that.
Have to figure out what you want.
Got that.
But you have to figure out a way to let them think that what you are getting isn't what you want.
Oh,
Yeah, and you have to make them think it's their idea.
aha. That's some back.
So
That seems so backwards, but I think I get it.
yeah, it does, but I hate to say it's not manipulation, it's just that's how they look at it. It's not negotiating. They need to feel that they got the upper hand, they got the better deal. And so it's not typical negotiation, give and take compromise. It's figuring how to let them think they won when actually you won.
All right, so let's do this. Let's try this with this person's question. Let's take out the word negotiating and put in the word you think belongs in this question. Dear Attorney Lenore, how do you approach what's the word with a narcissist? What's really the question, the word here in this question that we want to replace it with?
Probably reaching an optimal settlement with a narcissist.
How do you reach an optimal settlement with a narcissist? And optimal for both parties, I'm guessing?
Well, if you're mediation, yes. I mean, that would be ultimately what, because if it's really going to be all one way, no one's going to agree to that.
Yeah, right. That never works no matter what in mediation.
Mhm.
Do you think it might be helpful for the non-narcissist to take a course or two on how to have an optimal settlement with the narcissist? Meaning there needs to be some teaching, some preparation before walking into the room with your narcissistic husband to settle.
Definitely. I mean, I think that when someone does make that decision, that realization that this person is a narcissist and they want to leave, they probably have done some research. But definitely, if you haven't done research, do so. Get some books, and read about how best to handle narcissists. Probably get some therapeutic support, because here's the thing: you didn't accidentally end up with a narcissist.
Ooh.
There's reasons you ended up with as a narcissist. Usually the spouse of a narcissist is very much a caretaker, very much a nurturer, very much tied into taking care of who they initially thought was this wonderful person who was just a wounded individual. And it happens, I mean, narcissists have arrested emotional development at about 3 years old.
Okay.
And they're good as long as they're getting what they want. But when you put limits on it and they don't get what they want, that's when they throw the tantrum. That's when the tornado comes.
Whoa.
So, that person has to understand what that hook was for them, how that narcissistic partner triggers them, how, and as I said, it's very insidious. It's like a drip of water on a stone. It wears them down for a long time. So they have to do a lot of rebuilding of their self-esteem. They have to understand not only how a narcissist works, but how, when the narcissist does whatever they do, how that triggers them, so that they can respond in a totally different way. Because here's the thing with a narcissist: if you don't respond to them, they're like a cat with a mouse. If it's a dead mouse, the cat walks away. They're no fun to play with anymore. Narcissists like to poke people and they like to get reaction. Because what's a narcissist? From the god Narcissa, who couldn't interact with anybody. He could only interact with his own reflection. And so you are the reflection. They can't see themselves. They have no
Interesting.
sense of self unless they get a response from you.
I see.
Yeah, and it comes from some deep family patterning and psychological issues. And the thing about all personality disorders, they're very hard to treat because
I
it's a
see.
character flaw.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just very hard to treat and get any movement in that. You know, it's like granite, you know. Other people with emotional issues, they're like clay, they're malleable, you know, there's things you can do. Personality disorders, they're like granite. It's really, really hard to make an impact. So that's why people decide either to
They have to
stay
get.
or go.
Yeah, yeah. And what I'm taking away from what you just said before we go to a question we have planted earlier, is that the non-narcissist has to really understand herself, has to really be willing to be reflective and to take a bit of responsibility that she got into this relationship with someone that really met some need of hers. It's not 100% he's in the wrong. I don't like to put it like that, but I would rather say there is some responsibility that she can take, which sounds like it would empower her to be, secure and confident in this divorcing experience, I'll call it.
Definitely. And I think that we all get into relationships for our own reasons, even if we don't realize it. But the codependent spouse in a narcissistic relationship tends to be less aware because they think they're validated by being a caretaker. And they view it as being a caretaker for a long time. But yes, you have to take responsibility. But it is empowering because once you can do something, then you can control the game. And that's really important for the codependent spouse to feel powerful, because they have been disempowered for the entire relationship.
You know, I can't help but think that one activity for the codependent spouse, you call it that, I call it the non-narcissist, to do, in addition to reading and becoming knowledgeable and being self-reflective, is actually practice the dynamic, right? Like you would a stage performance. You need to be able to practice what you're going to say when he says this, and anticipating what he's going to say and then what you're going to say. Because when the rubber meets the road and you are actually trying to divorce this person, if your body hasn't adjusted to what it feels like to push back or to be in a strategic relationship, you're going to fall apart. You're going to fall apart in the middle of negotiating, to use this person's word, so it's a little bit more familiar, right?
Exactly. And that is where, honestly, therapeutic support is very important. It really is, because a lot of times it's the non-narcissistic spouse doesn't know how to set boundaries, knows nothing about boundaries. So they meld into the other person. They don't know where they end and the other person begins. So that's why the narcissist is like, well, everything is mine. Nothing's yours because there's no boundaries. So it's really as basic as understanding how to set personal boundaries and not engaging on their playing field. Because if you get into their ring, play by their rules, you're going to lose because you're not good at that game. You need to have it be in your ring, under your rules.
Yeah, while making it seem like it's their ring and their rules. Okay, so we're going to, if you're just joining us, this is a great conversation. Welcome to Dear Attorney Lenore Show. Today we're tackling the topic, how to divorce a narcissistic husband without the fear of losing everything. And next week we'll talk about how to divorce a narcissistic wife without fear of losing everything. So we have a question here that was asked earlier, Lenore, Attorney Lenore, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen and I'll read it to you. Dear Attorney Lenore, he blames me for everything. My husband and I have been married for 40 years and I have been contemplating divorce for 39 years. We have 3 adult children. They are on their own. Why am I still with this man? Baffles my own mind. He blames me for everything. The trash men delayed, the car almost on empty, his car that I don't drive, the kids not coming to visit regularly, bad sex, our investments depreciating. Why do I stay with this man? Better question, how do I get out of a 40-year marriage? I am afraid that he will leave me penniless. Sincerely, tired of being the blame. Okay.
Well,
what say you?
Well, that's a typical narcissist. Nothing is ever their fault. They take no responsibility for anything, and they are never remorseful. And why does she stay? Because it's patterned. Because, it, like I said, they slowly wear you down. And there's something called learned helplessness. It's a behavioral experiment that was done where they would put dogs in a cage and they would zap them. Like they would, give them a shock. And the dogs couldn't go anywhere. And they would, howl and everything. But eventually, the dogs just laid down because they knew that they couldn't do anything. So they just took it. And so that's what it sounds like a little bit what this person is going through. They have been patterned with learned helplessness. And again, some of this was set up before they met, but there's neurological pathways that have developed here. And it's really, really hard to change your neurological pathways and change your behavior. But you can do it. You just have to be willing to do the work and really want it. And so this person definitely needs some therapeutic support. They need an attorney that they feel is, competent, knows how to handle their narcissistic husband. And they need to start feeling like they deserve what they deserve and they're going to get it.
If this person came to you for a consultation, Attorney Lenore, what would be the first few things you would say to her? Would you tell her she needs therapy first or therapeutic support first? Or what would you say to her as an attorney mediator?
First of all, I would probably say, I don't know if mediation is going to work, but I certainly, would sit down with the two of you if he might be open to it, because, but this person sounds like probably not. And then I would sit down and say, really what I think I'd say is, once I listen to what the case is, you're not going to end up penniless. The courts aren't going to do that to you. This is what I see as our best steps forward. And not necessarily that we have to go into a knockdown, drag out fight in court to get what we want, but we can negotiate what is with his attorney to get what is reasonable in the courts, and we can massage it so he still thinks he's getting the upper hand. But the other thing I would also say is don't engage. Like, don't engage. Don't fight. Don't give them anything, because they're just sucking the energy out of you. And, you need some therapeutic support to be able to get through this, so that you don't go back to the same pattern that you have with this person. And that's going to be much easier said than done, because 40 years, sometimes people at that point just feel like the devil is better than the devil you don't. However, other people will feel, whatever I got left in life, I'm not going to waste it with this person.
Yeah.
And I think that's the better attitude for someone that is unhappy in that kind of a marriage.
I mean, after 40 years, you deserve a happier life, and you deserve to, go through the rest of the time you have on this earth doing the things that make you feel good and alive. So if you're just now watching, you're joining us for Dear Attorney Lenore's show with our attorney mediator, Lenore. If you have a question about our topic tonight, which is how to divorce a narcissistic husband without fear of losing everything, all you have to do is put your Dear Attorney Lenore question in the chat or on Facebook, and I will read it without, of course, naming who you are, and our attorney Lenore will answer them. We have another question here that I want to share, and let me put it up for you, Attorney Lenore, and you can address it. I am not an American, dear Attorney Lenore. My husband and I came from Europe and now legal residents of the USA. I am a stay-at-home wife with a 5-year-old son, and he is a professional. He controls all of the money, and he dictates who I can and cannot have friendships with. I live in isolation and constant fear. I want to divorce him. He says that I cannot because I am a foreigner. He also said that if I try to divorce him, he will take our son away from me. How do I divorce the father of my child if I am not an American? Sincerely, fear of being a foreigner. Dear. Okay, Attorney Lenore, I feel for this person very much. I fear of being a foreigner person. What would you say?
Well, I would first say knowledge is power. Okay. So if you're fearful that if you are going to be deported, if you divorce your spouse, I would have a consultation with an immigration attorney. If you're both not citizens of America, of the United States, I don't think, and I can't say for sure because that's not my legal expertise, I don't think that will prevent you from getting a divorce. And I don't think that will cause you to be deported. Now, it could be something, it would be different if he was an American and you were here on a spousal visa. That might change things. So I don't know exactly what you mean by we're residents and we're from Europe. That's why I would say first, talk to an immigration attorney. And certainly, an immigration attorney can work together with your divorce attorney to make sure that the process of divorce and how it is timed would not cause you to be deported. Now, in terms of him controlling all the money, well, In a divorce, you're going to be entitled to some sort of support for you and for your child. And in terms of him saying he's going to take the child away, well, he's not going to be the one that's going to be in control of that. The courts are. And the courts are going to look at what parenting arrangement is going to suit the child based on a number of factors. And the courts will make the decision about that. And generally, courts don't take kindly to one parent trying to keep the child from the other parent. That usually backfires. So, I think the most important thing here is to get the appropriate legal advice so that you can take the steps forward. Now, what he's doing is a typical narcissist move. I have all the power, you have none. And, making you think that he knows everything and you know nothing. And because you've been conditioned to not believe your own thoughts, that's what narcissists do. They always tell you what you think is true is not. That's why you're fearful. That's why you're concerned. And I can tell you this, that if even when you go to an attorney and you could show your spouse in black and white, this is what the law is, they will deny it. If it doesn't suit their purpose, they will deny it. So don't think you're going to get validation from your spouse. You're not. But in this scenario, you will get validation to some extent from the court. And so find out what your rights are and pursue them.
I was going to ask you, do you think, since narcissists always want to be in control, would you advise her to say, listen, sweetie, if you try to take our kid away from me, then the courts are not going to look on that kindly. And as a way to demonstrate she's not stupid, she does know something, and to push back. But then I thought about what you said earlier, like, don't engage. So should she just zip it, not say anything that she already knows a lot more than he thinks she knows, or to just have her attorney speak for her?
If I were her, I wouldn't engage, and I would just have her attorney speak for her. And just go that way. I don't think, in this situation, I don't think she should tip her hand.
Good. Do you play chess? Do you play cards? What do you play?
Well, not well.
Yeah, no, that's really, it's consistent. What you just said is consistent with what you've been sharing and what a narcissist is and how they behave. Don't let him know what you know. Okay. And I don't know if, see, I have not dealt with a narcissist, not in a personal, intimate relationship. And so my style is more, oh, I don't think so. Right. But I'm thinking that those who are in a narcissistic relationship may not be able to do the thing that I would do. Like, let me tell you a thing or two. I don't think that they have that.
No. And I
push back.
Right. Well, I can tell you this. A narcissist would never stay with a person that does that. They wouldn't stay with a person like that. That would not be someone they would pick.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be told they're wrong. They don't want any limits. They don't want any boundaries. The universe revolves around them, and everything they want or need, they want you to give it to them, or they're going to throw a hissy fit like a 2 or 3 year old.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us, you are watching the Dear Attorney Lenore show with attorney mediator Lenore Myers. We are addressing the topic, how to divorce a narcissistic husband without fear of losing everything. If you have a question that you want her to address, all you have to do is either put it on Facebook as Dear Attorney Lenore, then ask your question, or put it directly here in the chat for those of us who are visiting with us live, joining us live today. We have one more question here, and then we'll talk about the value of reaching out to you, Attorney Lenore. And that question, let me put it up on the screen. I actually like this question the most. Oh, I don't know if anybody else will. All right, so let me share. Okay, I'm playing Zoom Master and everything else, so hold on.
That's okay. Thank you.
You're
doing a great job.
No, right? Okay. All right. Our last question for the night. In love with a narcissist. Dear Attorney Lenore, my husband drives me crazy. He is controlling, egocentric, doesn't consider my feelings or the feelings of our children in his decision making, and never takes responsibility for his own actions. I love him and I hate him. I know this marriage won't last, but I also know that his narcissistic behavior stems from childhood trauma. I want to get out now while the children are young and innocent. How can I divorce him while respecting him as a father and husband? Sincerely, I love me some him. And that I love me some him comes from a famous song by an artist named Toni Braxton, just as FYI. Yeah. All right. Let's deal with this one.
So I think this is like everything rolled into one. Yes, of course she loves him. He has his hooks into her unresolved childhood trauma. And she has to figure out what that is. He has childhood trauma. Yeah, of course he does. That's what creates a narcissist. Some serious childhood trauma, usually at the age of 2 or 3, with, dysfunctional parents. And the degree to how bad that is, it depends on a lot of factors. So, narcissists, they're not evil. They're just very, very damaged. And that doesn't mean that you should continue to let them damage you. So you can love them, but you got to love yourself more.
Ooh, that's good.
And here's the thing. You have to love yourself more so your kids understand how to love themselves too. It's hard growing up with a narcissistic parent. It's very damaging to children. And so you're the one that has to role model for them what a healthy relationship is and how to handle a narcissist in a way that's healthy. Because they're always going to, you always run into people that represent your family, your parents, and your unresolved relationship with them. And so she'll be giving them the tools to avoid feeling a sense of connection with the narcissist that they will run into in their lives. And she will help them not try to replicate the relationship she has with their father and try and heal their wounds as a result of him if she models healthier behavior for them. So you can love somebody, but it doesn't mean you have to stay with them or live with them.
Go ahead.
And you can't do the work of somebody else's healing. They have to do their own healing. And by her staying with him, she's not helping him heal. She's just re-ingraining all of this unhealthy behavior on his part.
So what I liked about this person's comment is she does have a sense of compassion for the damage that has happened to her husband. She's not just making him the super bad guy. She really wants to honor him as a father, but honor herself too as someone that needs to get the heck out of that relationship. She seems like a great person to work with to get out of that marriage.
Yes, and I think that in that situation, this may be one of those situations where it's possible to mediate.
Yeah.
Because she has enough self-esteem to step back and see things from not being from a non-victim status. So she might be strong enough in a mediation setting to stand her ground, but also massage that person's ego to help them come around to seeing the benefit of mediation, the benefit of being the better husband and father, for coming up with a settlement that serves everybody, and thereby massaging their ego a little bit, so they're feeling like, they're a little above everything, like, I've graced you with doing this, so
Yeah.
they haven't lost their feeling of superiority.
Gotcha. Well, before we say goodbye tonight, Attorney Lenore, I can't help but ask you this question. You opened up the show by sharing with us that you grew up with a narcissist. And we've talked a lot about narcissistic behavior and it being a personality disorder and so forth. How did you not become a narcissist yourself growing up with a narcissist? How did you escape that and become this very balanced, compassionate, empathic attorney mediator who now wants to bring about peace in the process of divorce? How come you're not messed up?
Well,
I don't know. Maybe you are. I don't think so.
Listen, this is what I always say. None of us came from the Brady Bunch. We all came from the Banana Bunch. Okay. And most of the time narcissists don't raise narcissists. Okay, because they can't compete in the household. I mean, most narcissists raise people that are subservient and don't have a lot of self-esteem, honestly. I think it's a lot of personal work, a lot of reflection, a lot of of balance in my family that counterbalance the narcissist, and determination and tenacity. I have my own strong Sicilian will, so I guess that served me.
I guess so. Well, for those of you who have spent the time watching today's show, we're so grateful to you for joining Dear Attorney Lenore. And we want to put up on the screen here for a way for everyone to reach you, Attorney Lenore. Attorney Lenore, why don't you tell everyone how they can reach you and the opportunity for them to book a 30-minute consultation with you to learn more about the divorce mediation process and it being right for them. So tell us the website.
So the website is Divorce Done Differently, PA.com. You can email me at divorcedonedifferentlypa@gmail.com, and then I can send you a link to my Calendly account, and we can schedule a consultation, a 30-minute consultation discovery call, and see how I can be of assistance to you as you navigate this difficult road.
Yeah. So that website I put in the chat for those who are watching, joining us live right now. And I don't know how to do that on Facebook, how to put that in on Facebook, but I will later. And it's www.divorcedonedifferentlypa.com. And
Yes.
the Gmail, of course, again, is divorcedonedifferentlypa@gmail.com. I would encourage everyone who is watching, who has a friend, a family member, a coworker who is suffering because they don't know how to deal with a narcissist. They do want out of the relationship, but don't know how to do it. They are afraid to give Attorney Lenore a call, schedule a consultation, and find out what your options are. You will be the better for it. Attorney Lenore, do you have anything you want to say in conclusion before we let everybody go? Oh, wait. And by the way, next show is how to divorce a narcissistic wife, just to make sure we're keeping this balanced. So I hope everyone will join us next week as well, same time. Attorney Lenore, anything you want to just share before we say goodbye?
I just want to say, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And if you are really unhappy and you know that this just isn't going to work in the long run in your marriage, take that first step. It's okay. It's scary, but I or someone like me will take your hand and we'll walk you through it. It'll be okay. You'll see in the long run.
It will be okay. Thank you so much, Attorney Lenore, for another great show. And we'll see everyone next week for another Dear Attorney Lenore. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.